Alright, I'm going to be using my iPhone today just for a quick video, and then I'll get my stuff set back up. But I got this a little over a week ago. I've actually been traveling, so no opportunity to get things going, but we're going to go from the garage and take a look and see how things go. So this is legitimately my first ever drive. Nice. It actually was a very good job because it was taking into consideration my side mirror and trying to navigate to make sure it doesn't hit anything. So there is a FedEx truck coming, and that is causing it to be a little maybe too safe. It could have kept going. I'm going to the recycling, so you're going to hear cans in the back. I would have backed up a little bit further, but it actually made that turn without hopping the curb or anything.
Now turn left onto Mason Ridge Drive.
I'm not sure why the volume was on. Wife might have been driving the car and going somewhere that she didn't know, so she might have turned the volume back on. Either that, or when the update came through, it activated navigation again. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I've been in Florida for the last, ooh, that's a little jerky. I've been in Florida for the last 2 weeks, and when I left, the fall colors hadn't hit yet. So I feel like I'm actually coming back home right in the kind of peak fall colors here. Absolutely gorgeous. I might spend the rest of the day just going for a walk and enjoying the outside. It's 63 degrees right now, but absolutely love this time of year when it hits and it's kind of like a nice sunny day, not too cold. You can enjoy the outdoors and take in all the change of scenery. One thing you'll notice in the Midwest, or probably true anywhere where you have season changes, is that during the winter, any little bit of good weather that comes out, you take advantage of that. I mean, you will see people just outside in droves when the weather's nice, because during the bulk of the winter, you know, it's just dark and dreary and not getting as much sunlight, so it's like you take it when you can get it. So today is one of those days where it's like, oh yeah, definitely worth getting outside and enjoying the scenery. There's a car coming from the left. It did what I would do, which is kind of wait for it, even though they were going a little bit slower, and so you could kind of shoot the gap. But I would have handled it exactly the same way. So I've heard some people talk about brake stabbing, jitteriness. I will say I haven't, just getting out of the neighborhood, there were a couple of times where it stopped and got a little jittery there. But I'm sure if this were to stick around for months on end, it would get pretty annoying. But for those of us that are happy to kind of test and be in advanced mode, and that's the number one thing I would tell you all, is if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I want to be able to try that, don't put it in advanced mode. Wait for stable releases to hit if you're not somebody who can be comfortable with regressions. I'll comment on regressions and say it's annoying, and I forget what version it was, but there was one where the regressions were so bad that I absolutely regretted the update. Like, I just was dying for the next update to come because it was just so bad. But that was a one-time event. Most of the time, yeah, you might experience a regression here or there, but it's tolerable, and within a month or two, they've got the bugs ironed out, and you're back to having a nice stable release. And I think they're saying 14.2, which right now I'm on 14.1.4. but they're saying 14.2 would be considered like the stable wide release. And I think Elon has commented that like 14.3. He said this in the shareholder meeting, so check me if I'm being factual here. But they just had the annual shareholders meeting, and I think he said something. Either 14.3 he said you're gonna notice it'll be like a very different experience, very smooth, and I think he said something like by 14.6 or whatever, that he would expect that it'll be so smooth that they can actually reduce the amount of notifications you get for having to pay attention, and you'd actually be able to text and drive without the car putting in a notification or warning you that you need to be paying attention, because he thinks I should say that it's at that level. Again, my first attempt at version 14, so far I'm pretty good with it. I'm in standard mode. I'm actually fine with the speed here. A little fast. I generally am what you'd call like a 10%er, right? So whatever the speed limit, add 10% to that, and that's about where I like to hang out. That being said, I'm also a go with the flow of traffic person, and so if traffic tends to move at 15% over the speed limit, then I go 15% over the speed limit. Nothing too crazy, but I do tend to believe that like you actually become more likely to cause an accident if you're the one that's driving dramatically below the speed limit compared to everybody, or I shouldn't say below the speed limit, but below others. All right, how are we going to handle that? Green light. So what I was looking for, sorry, a lot just happened in that little space of time. I was actually very happy with the way that handled. So what I was kind of paying attention to when we were making that turn is if you look closely at the lines in the concrete where the concrete pads kind of meet up and you've got the tar that's laid out, there are versions where the car has looked at that line as being the line that defines the traffic lane. And so sometimes when you have a turn and you have those lines, like it creates a conflict, and the car will start to drift, or just picks a line that isn't the actual line that's associated with the lane that we need to be in. So same thing's going to happen up here. We're going to make this right-hand turn as we head up the hill, and the lane is actually going to widen as part of that process. It just widens ever so briefly during the turn, but sometimes the car can be a little floaty when you're in full self-driving. So as you can see, we're getting past and doing 46, which is 6 over the speed limit. And I've got cars coming up behind me at a slightly faster rate, not super fast, and then we've already been passed. So here's where I was talking about where that line sometimes causes it to drift. Handled that perfectly. Now we need to get over. It was very assertive with that. That was nice. That was actually really nice, because I was wondering if it was going to freak out or not, and it did not. It recognized the need to get over, and it did. And with that car kind of creeping up on us on the other lane, it turned on its blinker, and then that car actually kind of backed off a little bit on their speed, kind of allowing us over. So actually I wonder if that makes more sense. Give you guys kind of, instead of me describing like where a car might be coming from the right or the left or something like that, you guys will have complete visibility into what I'm seeing. We do every year in the Midwest, it seems, you get your updates, if you will. Or I shouldn't say updates, but the roads have to be repaired consistently. You go through these like freeze cycles, and in this case there's just other construction that's happening. But I wish version 14 had been available to test in our neighborhood even a month ago, because every road in my neighborhood was down to one lane. It was just a huge obstacle course, even a challenge for just a human to navigate. So it really would have been cool to be able to get through the neighborhood on version 14 without having to interact, and see how well it does at deciding when it has the right of way, when it doesn't have the right of way, or when it should yield the right of way, for that matter. So next steps on this drive, things that I like to test, and decision-making abilities. We've probably got about a mile to go, but as we get up here about a mile down the road, the car tends to be in the fast lane or left-hand side in older versions. It's kind of an odd intersection that you go through as you're navigating across the interstate for I-70, where the right lane has to go over to the left side and then back over to the right side. And then the far left lanes become on-ramps to the interstate. It's all designed to allow for flow of traffic to go a little bit faster and smoother, but the car oftentimes hangs out in the left-hand lanes way too long. It doesn't plan ahead, I think is the best way to describe it, right? It's waiting until it's a quarter mile or even a tenth of a mile from when it needs to move over, but in busy traffic, you effectively can get blocked in by traffic to your right or left, depending on direction that you're going to travel. So what I'm looking for is, after we go through these next couple of intersections, what lane does the car decide that it's going to hang out in, and does it get into the better lane, if you will, the smarter lane choice earlier? Right now, with us hanging out in this right lane, I don't know if we'll even get to challenge that or test that. Then beyond that, there's a set of train tracks, so we'll get a chance to see how it interacts with the train tracks, make sure it slows down. I would say it was hit or miss 60-70% of the time. Most of the time I did feel like it slowed down at least enough to where you could comfortably go over the train tracks, but there are times where it would just hit those train tracks and just like not even tap on the brake even a touch. So I'm very, very much looking forward to the idea of seeing it treat the train tracks as like a speed bump or something, and just kind of slowing down a bit to navigate that safely. I shouldn't say safely, it's more of a comfort thing, without throwing me around or damaging the car and the suspension. So here's the section that I was talking about. You actually want to be in this lane. You can go over one more to the right. If you're in this far left lane, that's the one that'll become the on-ramp. This one you can go on or stay straight, and that's why you kind of generally want to be in this one. So, and it's just been in the right lane this whole time, so we didn't really get a chance to test it. I might have been smart to move it over manually and then engage it to see if it made the choice to get back over. But, yeah, perfect. So we're in the right lane, didn't have anything to worry about. Well, there it goes. So what's it doing? Yeah. There's no traffic around, obviously no problems there. I don't know if I would have felt the need to get over, but thinking about, like I was talking about, the planning and thinking ahead, this is the lane you want to be in for when we get down here a little bit, because we're going to be making a right-hand turn. Sometimes I'd go down this road and it would actually go back over into the left lane and then back to the right, so I wonder if it'll do that. We didn't really slow down. It did brake stab. I think that was because of the car coming out of the shopping center, and not for the railroad tracks. So I would have liked it to slow down a little bit more for the railroad tracks. I am probably going to have to disengage at some point, because the address that I have in here is it sees the address as being in the middle of this road, not the actual facility that has a parking lot that I'm trying to get to. So we'll take a look. I'm gonna let it go as long as I can, and then if I had to take over, like disengage because it's starting to stop or do something, that would be. But that's more of a GPS address issue. If that happens, not anything that I would put on the software itself. But my hope is that it recognizes I'm trying to go over to this building up here on the left, and it's going to pull me into that building and park. So it says to turn left in 0.1 miles. Nice. So we are signaling to turn in. So usually the address, it would stop it here. It doesn't, it historically wouldn't kind of register this parking lot. So I don't know if that's been part of a map update or just the way FSD is. And we're plenty busy here today, so let's see what it does. Wow. Not the straightest, but it's in the lines. I'll take it.